Hello there. We have some vintage Americana DIYs. I have about 5 Patriotic Home Decor DIYs I can't wait to share with you. I'm Whitney with Crafty Thoughts and Whatnots, and let's jump into our craft room. Now, first project, I'm going to take this little block of wood, and I have, it says wood book on the back, so basically we're going to label blocks of wood that they're books. I mean, I guess it's a book shape, so yeah, whatever, it works. This is a Dollar Tree piece of wood. Just take a random scrap piece of wood. I'm going to clean it up, take the sticky off, get all the little extras off the back and the sides. Just give it a nice little rub down. And then I'm going to use my home decor wood tint in the color walnut. This is my favorite. You will see me use it lots and lots. And I'm going to give it a good coat all over. So front, back, top, side to sides, flip it up, all kinds of ways. This is such a nice color. I can't get over. And again, a lot of times when I use it, I end up covering it up anyways. But this one's going to peek through. I'm going to try a different technique today. I saw someone painting off a Ginger Chick Rehab. She was painting a piece of wood with a piece of wood. So I'm going to use a piece of wood. You'll see in a minute. So I'm going to use this color Old 57 from DIY Paint. I get all my DIY products from miltonsdaughter.com. Take a peek in the description. Now I'm going to take a popsicle stick. So I'm painting wood with wood. I'm going to take just a flat surface. Later on, I'm going to do this again on our next project, and I'm going to use like a plastic scraper. But I want to give it a distressed look. So I'm doing it kind of like backwards in reverse, you could say. I want to make it look like the paint has been weathered and chipped without actually having to do that myself. So if I'm just kind of smearing it on there with a flat surface on a flat surface, then I'm getting actually the perfect look that I'm going for. So I did an edge just to test it out, see if I was like crazy or not, because now I would only have to sand a small part if I mess it up. But I like the way it looks, like the way it turned out. So I started doing all the little edges, and then I dried them. Just a blow dryer. This DIY paint dries very, very fast, and I mean it's a dream to work with. I love this paint. Now I'm gonna go for the bigger piece. I'm gonna go for the meat and potatoes of our project, and I'm like, okay, well, I'm getting a little bit off here and there. Basically, I would literally take the stick and then just apply pressure in different ways just to get it to just smearing it across is what I'm doing. Is I'm like, well, let me just play around and make an absolute mess. And it works out to my advantage. It looks great. So I like the way that this comes out. So you can use anything, any kind of hard surface. I watched Ginger Chick. She used a block of wood across another block of wood. Later on, I'm going to use a plastics, like a clay spatula. You can use metal spatulas, anything with a flat surface on it. And it worked out really, really great. I'm loving the way this worked out. It gave me the chippy, weathered look I want. Now look at what it looks like when it dries. Isn't that perfect? So what we're going to do is we're going to enter some buttons. Button, who's got my buttons? I can't wait to dig my fingers in these buttons. I've had an idea to do this little, it's just a fun little thing. Turns into a longer project because then I get to dig in buttons, and then I get distracted by the digging in the buttons because I like to stick my fingers in the buttons. And that's a whole nother talk show right there. But I'm going to just pull out a bunch of red, white, and blue buttons, and we're going to basically put a flag on here. You've seen it, if you saw, obviously you saw the thumbnail before you clicked on the video here. We're going to make a little flag shape. I wasn't going to put as much effort into this as I did, and I'm not sure why. I'm showing you how much I'm digging in these buttons. I mean, I dug in them a lot longer. I cut out a lot, guys, because I got a little bit overboard. I mean, I went overboard with the digging in the buttons, but we got everything evened out. Now, my last video, I had a subscriber ask me about, do I line the button lines up? Excuse me, boys. Excuse me. Henry and Cosmo want to say hi. So anyways, they're asking me if I line up the buttonholes. I don't. In fact, I go out of my way to not do that most of the time because I like things to be a little messy, a little messed up. But this instance, I'm going to line up the buttonholes just for you. Just so you can see that, yes, I can do it. I will do it. But I have never actually paid attention to that, or at least thought of it to try it in a way per se, but it turned out great. It looks good. I like the way they're all lined up. I don't know that it would look any different or worse or better, in my opinion or your opinion. You let me know what you think if they weren't all lined up. But this is for one of you guys. You guys put your comments in, jibber jabber with me in the comments. I always love that. And then you never know, I might take one of your ideas or your suggestions and then just run with it. There's going to be another one that you're going to see second to last. There's going to be another subscriber comment, basically a subscriber reminding me of something I had mentioned before. So stay tuned. Now, you'll see here, I'm lining 4 buttons up in blue, but then I'll change my mind here. I put some masking tape down just to kind of, we're gonna take this off here because I'm just gonna pop that off. Actually, that hot glue holds that down pretty good too, so I had to really get that X-Acto knife under there to pop that button off. But we're gonna reuse her because I like that lighter blue. I put the masking tape on just to give me a good idea of the area that I want to use, so that way I have a border and I don't go out of the lines when I'm making my stripes and, you know, putting the flag together. So with this one, I did three buttons of blue, 3 rows of 3, and then from here we're going to do a line of red, a line of white, a line of red, a line of white. And then what I was also trying to do is concentrate on the size of the buttons. Wouldn't like at least butt them up against each other if I had a smaller button next to a bigger button. If there was a space, I left the space. Now, normally I like to crowd them all in together as much as I can, but most of the time I'm using buttons because I'm not really creating a shape. What about you? Like, I'm usually using them for filler or decoration. But in this instance, I wanted to create the shape, so I kind of tried to keep things a little bit uniform on top of remembering to line those buttonholes up. So hopefully, if you're watching that, you see I'm lining up the buttonholes, and tell me what you think. Do you love that? Is it helpful? Is it just satisfying? Is it just nice to see with your eyes and makes your heart happy? Because just in general, buttons make me happy. If I line the buttons, if I line the buttonholes up or not, I'm a happy girl. So you tell me, guys, what would you do? I think this turned out great. Some of these buttons have a little bit of glitter in them. Some of them don't. I use different shapes, different sizes. I still tried to keep them all within the small to medium range just because we have a smaller piece of wood that we're working on here. But I think it turned out great. Look how pretty she is. Now, you can stop here, but you know I'm not. But you can. Still, look, American flag. Very Americana, very 4th of July, Memorial Day, very patriotic. But I'm going to outline this in some jute. I felt like I needed to add more to it. And by the time I'm done, I've added more than I had originally planned. But again, the end result makes me happy. I like her. She makes me so happy. So taking jute pieces, and I'm just putting a very thin line of hot glue down just to outline the flag itself. I wanted to add more weathered, more country, antique, you know, junking kind of, you know, I want it to look like, yeah, what do I say? How do I say this? I want to look like it's been sitting on a wraparound porch drinking iced tea from a mason jar. There's my soap opera. If you know what I mean. Like, I'll make up stories about stuff as I'm crafting. So tell me, do you guys do that too? Do you just have an idea in mind? It has nothing to do with the project. Like, where do I go with that? Like, mason jar of iced tea. It just makes me happy. I'm telling you, I live in the wrong state. I should not live in Vegas where I do. I live in the hot desert, and I am not meant to be here. I'm meant to be somewhere else that's older. Now, after I just outlined all that, I'm going to just take some ribbon here. This is just some patriotic ribbon I've had in my stash. I'm going to cut a small piece of it. Not going to tie a bow, not going to bake a knot. We're just going to put dovetails on the ends. I'm going to put some hot glue in the middle of my little end here on the book, and I'm just going to squish the ribbon into it. I'm making these folds on their own with my fingers, so I'm basically just gathering it, and I'm smooshing it all down in that hot glue. As the hot glue dries, it holds its shape. It makes me happy. It makes me do what I needed to do. Adding a couple, dots here and there for more stability. Now, this is a finger bow that I apparently tied off camera that I did not show you how I tied, but I do have a separate tutorial linked in my description below. You can take a peek at it. It slows things down, shows you how to do multiple types of bows. Practice makes perfect. I still retie them today. I say the same thing in every video. It's probably getting tired of it, but they become easy at some point. Now, we're going to seal all this because we use that DIY paint. So I've got some DIY wax, clear wax and dark wax. And I'm going to put the clear wax on everything first. The clear wax will give me the peace of mind to know that, yes, it is actually 100% sealed in. The DIY paint is clay-based, so it can be reactivated with even just water. And so what we want to do is seal it to make sure that that basically does not happen. If you don't plan on getting anything wet again or having worried about things rubbing off, then you don't need to seal it. But usually it's suggested that you seal DIY paints. So after I do the clear wax, I'm adding dark wax in on most of the edges and the corners. And this is to give it that weathered aged look I want. Now, because we're doing clear wax first, I can control most of my dark wax instead of, if you just do solid dark wax, you will end up having a very dark project, and sometimes you can't back that out. It'll be a little bit too dark. So the clear wax gives you the ability to control how much dark wax you apply into what areas. Now I was able to grab these little guys. Now I had to wait for them to be delivered, so I got these little rusty stars off of Amazon. Now they're also going to come in handy for Christmas, so just wait. You guys will see these repeated in the DIYs this year. So last minute I added a rusty star, and then I tied another finger bow to put on top of the little rusty star because I wanted to cover up the little hole on it. You know, a lot of times I don't mind if if it has a hanger in it. I don't care if it shows, but if I have a way to cover it up, and I'll try. So I'm just going to put a dab of glue on, making sure it goes on either side of the star, so it's like touching the jute bow behind it. I did apply dark wax into the middle of that bow, so there's a little bit hit and miss here. It has a great connection. It's not moving. I did this we're going on about 2 days now since I finished this project for the video, and everything's still solid. It's a great little, look how cute it is. And I'm glad I added it. It's like I ordered them off Amazon, but I didn't have them yet when I started recording. And I love these little rusty stars. They're so dang cute. I'm glad I added that. Yeah, for sure. Now tell me what you think. Would you done anything different? At one point I was going to try to put jute in between each one of those rows for, like an L shape between the blue buttons, and then also a line between each row of white and red. But then it started to get way too jumbled and look a little bit too messy. Even for me and my taste. I mean, I like the messy, jumbled, cluttered, old, weathered, rusty, crusty. I like all that, but that was a bit much. Would you have done that, or would you have done something different? Tell me your thoughts. Now, our next DIY here is, we're going to take this cute little fall sign here. Now, I noticed right here on the tag, the back of the tag, there's a pumpkin on it. Look how cute. Now, totally, got distracted, like, squirrel. Look, there's the pumpkin on the tag. Yeah, literally, Whitney forgot what we were doing. So this is a Hobby Lobby sign that I got a few years ago. I bought a couple of them. They were on clearance when I went through one day, and I just bought a whole bunch of them. Some of them say hello fall, some of them say something else. So in any event, I got distracted by the pumpkin on the tag. How cute of them. Thank you for putting a pumpkin on the tag. Make me happy. Now I'm going to take off the hanger, and we are going to sand down most of the lettering here. I'm going to need to paint this because we're going to decoupage into this here. And I had a complete, total brain misfiring. Do not ask me why I'm using this country tan color. Literally, Whitney. Like, I think maybe I was trying to figure out something that would have been a little bit more neutral so that I didn't have to paint as many coats of white. But I really honestly don't know what I was doing. So switch to that. After that dries, we're going to put down white. Now I got enough of that lettering off with the hand sander there that I got, that I don't know why I did that. I really don't. Just sometimes, do you just ask yourself later, like, what are you thinking? Like you're talking to yourself, like the people that when you leave the house and you go, why do I leave the house? And then you're talking like, that's because there's people outside. And I'm like, I just was one of those people. For the last 10 minutes, I painted this country tan. I'm one of those people. Now, moving on. We painted it white. She's all good, ready to go. We're going to use this beautiful piece of decoupage paper I get from Lori at miltonsdaughter.com. We're going to use this butterfly right here. Now, this is a Christmas scene. You can see all those other butterflies have holly and like Christmas pine and stuff like that. But this guy right here is plain, and it is the perfect colors because you guys will see those butterflies repeated in other projects coming up this Christmas. But this particular guy on the bottom left here was 100% going to be in my 4th of July Americana Patriotic DIY. I couldn't help it. It's so pretty. A lot of times you don't necessarily have to have flags or stars or stripes. You just need to have these colors. Americana is basically like a vintagey farmhouse distressed look, but with the proper colors. And you can either do the brighter red, white, and blue, or you can do maybe a maroon, navy, blue, and cream. It doesn't necessarily have to be, but that's basically what I was going for, was Americana. Now, after I used some water and I pulled off the pieces that I wanted and got that frayed edge, we're going to use DIY's liquid patina. This one's called Crystal Clear Chandelier. All the DIY products and anything I get from Milton's Daughter is listed separately, individually, with links in my description, so you can go directly to them if you want to. This butterfly turns out so pretty. She's so cute. Now I'm going to use the decoupage medium like you would anything else. If you like Mod Podge, if you have any other type of medium you use, please do that. I have had such wonderful results with the products I get from Lori at Milton's Daughter that I have, when I've used other products, whether I'm using tissue paper or a napkin or some decoupage paper I've gotten from other places, I get wrinkles and bubbles and tears. I do not get that. And with the DIY liquid patina, I'm loving this as a medium. You can also use it as a top coat. You can also use it as a distressing. I also have one called Old Barnwood that gives you a gray look. That's also a patina you could use for decoupage medium also. As you can see, I applied this in strips on underneath, and then I put a full coat over the top, let it dry. Now what I'm going to do is take my other color DIY paint called Hey Sailor. This is a nice, beautiful, darker blue. Not very cobalt, but very dark blue. Very, just so pretty. And I decided to paint the edge. The sign, the frame itself was kind of boring to me. You can see I can sand it around. I sanded around the edges, but I didn't like what I was doing. So I didn't like how it was coming out. Of course, I love what I'm doing. Even if I'm messing it up, I'm having fun. But in this instance, I decided to add some blue to it so that I could get a little bit more, I don't know, just because I wanted to. I did this here, and then I put that there, and then I'm putting this around here like that, and this, and like all I'm doing is trying to explain to you why I did something, and half the time I don't know why I did it. I just did it because I wanted to, and I liked it, and it made it pretty. That's what I'm here for. I'll show you what I did. If I mess it up, I show you how I fixed it. And then sometimes, even if you don't agree if I fixed it or not, if I like it, then that's all that matters. And I'm happy you're here, and I want you to like it too, but at least you can see how I've done something, and you know if you don't like it, how to not do things so that you can do it different to where you like it. Does that make sense? In the whole, sentence and words putting into sentence making. So anyhow, as you see, I resanded the edges. I got the distressed look I want, and I've also got that really pretty blue color. Now I'm going to add some burlap rope to the inside here. I get this rope off of Amazon, also linked in my description. I'm going to burn all the fuzzies off the rope that I'm going to put on there first, because I am not a fuzzy liker. I will leave fuzzies on very seldom. So basically, if you don't see me burning fuzzies off, I've done it off camera. I burn fuzzies off of mostly everything. Jute, twine, ropes, cords, name it. Baker's twine. As long as it's that type of medium, you don't want to really take far to acrylic yarns or anything. That would be bad. So please be safe. Do not burn yourself or cause fires. Just, again, I have a spray bottle and a little bucket of water, and that's mainly for when I burn my fingers too, nearby. So please be safe. But in any event, burn the fuzzies off. Take that. I'm going to glue it around the inside edge. That gives us a little bit more detail, a little bit more rusticness. Also helps cover up any other oopsies if you had some paint issues. Now I'm going to take some Spanish moss, and I'm going to tuck it into the bottom left corner. Now, when I started putting in the rope, I knew I was going to put something in the bottom corner. So that is why you see some pretty rough edges in that bottom corner. I'm also going to put something on the front of the frame that kind of hides this. So this is why I'm tucking all this in here first. And you'll see in a second, if you were peeking at the thumbnail, you've seen that there was a heart and a star on the front. So I know how much of that will cover up the bottom corner. And I'm going to add this greenery first. This came off of a Dollar Tree little rose bush, and it couldn't have been more perfect. The way these little vine leafy things just fit in here perfectly. It almost mimics the butterfly wings. And I was like, wow. More happy accidents. I'd make Bob Ross happy even though I'm not painting. Now, I'm cutting some of them off because you don't want them too long. I mean, in my opinion, I didn't want them too long. This is just how it turned out. I think it turned out so great. I love it. Every time I worry, you worry or you're your own worst critic. I worry so much that I'm either doing too much with a certain type of product or a certain type of supply. And then I end up going and surprising myself, and it just turns out so beautiful that I can't really complain, and then I need to stop second guessing myself is what it is. But again, that's the human condition, right? That's not going to happen. That's not going to change. Now, here's what I'm talking about. I have these cute little ornaments. These are Dollar Tree ornaments from Valentine's. I'm going to take one of the red stars, and then this is a Christmas wood cutout shape. So I'm going to take one of the, it's a red heart, and then the Christmas ones are the stars. So I got a Valentine's little wood cutout and a Christmas cutout, and we're going to put them and apply them to our Americana Patriotic cutout goodies, our little project here. So the heart itself, I didn't have to do anything to. I could just glue it to the front of the frame where I wanted to. And now with the star, I do want to paint it first. So I had some leftover paint in my brush because at this point I hadn't gotten up off of my butt to walk to the sink to clean the brush out. So I basically got I'm just being honest here. I got the brush wet again, and because it's DIY paint, it reactivates with water. So hey man, laziness and hindsight 2020 here. I did that on purpose, okay? I could just completely lie to you and say, look at what I've done to save product and recycle and make the earth last longer. Yeah, no, I was just too lazy to get off my butt and go clean the paintbrush off. But I'm like, oh yeah, I could use this to paint the star. Also, I didn't want to paint it white. I wanted more blues and reds. So now I'm going to tuck in some baby's breath behind our heart and star little frame attachment or adornment. And this is just squirting the glue back in the back and then making sure I have contact. You don't actually necessarily need to squish everything down on top of itself, just as long as you know it's made contacts. Once the glue solidifies, you'll be good to go and nothing's going to pop out or fall out. Now, this little screw top here, I have a thing where I got these little handles off of Amazon. You'll see them in a second. Save that because, you know, obviously we use it for different projects. But I got these little handles off of Amazon, and I've been liking to turn anything that's square. So, you know, Dollar Tree has those little square boxes you can get, or little crates. This little sign from Hobby Lobby, just, they look like drawers. I like turning it into like looking like I took a drawer off of something and I'm standing it up and I'm repurposing it. It gives that recycle, thrifted, you know, second chance look that most of the stuff is the style I like and I'm going for. So what I'm showing you here is like the screws are going to be a little bit too long. So if I screw them all the way down and I countersink them the way, because those are countersink screws, that means that they'll screw into the wood and go to be flush with the top of your piece, your metal piece you're putting in the handle. So what I'm doing is I'm making the starter holes with my old-fashioned, run-of-the-mill, you know, totally human-powered screwdriver here, because I haven't really taken on a drill yet. I mean, we have one. It's not like I don't have power tools. I'm just like, if I can do it easier, or maybe, you know, it's funny is because this is actually the harder way. I'm making it harder on myself by not using a drill, but, you know, sometimes it's like, well, I'll venture out into that eventually. I'm making the starter holes so that the sharp part of the screw that I'm having to cut off, I'm shortening the screws so they don't pop through the bottom. So that's just what they look like after I cut the tips off. They were not hard to cut. I used my wire cutters to do it. They weren't really huge screws. So, you know, adjust accordingly depending on the hardware you plan to use. In this instance, these little guys are from Amazon. It's not like they were crazy expensive or made of steel or anything. It's just a softer metal. So I cut the tips off, and then now after I've got the guide holes met, I'm lining everything back up and I'm putting the screws in. I put one in on one side and only screwed it in about halfway, and then I'm putting the other one in on the other side just to make sure everything matches up, everything lines up. And then once I get them both in together about halfway, I'll then go back and forth and screw left, right, until they're all the way down and they're flushing in. And then that's what it looks like. So it looks like I got a cute little handle. I love it. I want to squish it. It's so, I want to go, oh my God, it's so cute. I'm so happy. I wanted to squish it. Now I felt like I had like a little blob of hot glue up here that kind of squished out from under the rope when I put it on there, and I just needed to cover it. So I got a very small piece of Spanish moss, and I'm just going to squish it right up against that rope. It covers up the glue piece. It makes me happy. It does the job I want it to do. And then I grabbed one of the little flowers off of the baby's breath from the stem, or from the little bushes that I already had, and I'm just going to glue that right into the middle of that Spanish moss. Get a good contact between the Spanish moss and the end of that little flower there in the glue. It's also touching the back of the painted sign and then also the rope, so we're good to go. And then also don't forget, on this particular one, we only used a little bit, but we did use some DIY paint, so I'm only going to rub this just around the edges on the border of our frame here where we put the blue paint. I did decide to just go ahead and do the outside edge of the wood too, because again, you don't want it to, you're gonna see that I got some of the wax on the outside, so it'll be darker than the rest. Once this dries, it will dry. Once it's cured, it takes a few days to cure, up to a week, depending on how much wax you use, if you're using it for a piece of furniture, but it will lighten back up. But I needed to make sure that I didn't have like weird, like, for lack of a better term, like grease lines or fingerprints, grease of fingerprints. So, because I did the top around the top edge, and then I also did around the outside edge, just to seal it all together. I love how she turned out. I think she's so pretty. This is very, very patriotic, but at the same time, again, you don't have to put the heart and the star there. You could just leave it as it is, and it's just you know, someone has a preference for blues and reds. But again, it's very, very Americana, very, very cute, and I love how she turned out. Alrighty, now our third project. Do you remember a while back when Dollar Tree came out with these little tabletop signs? Yeah, I bought a few, like 10 of them, and I think I've only used one. So now what I'm going to do is take off this. My eye twitches when I see glitter like that, dude. I despise glitter. Unless it is sealed under 75 pounds of some sort of resin or plastic or glue. I hate glue. I mean, I hate glitter. And it's bad because, you know, like I love it sparkly. Like if you could put on my nails, I love the sparkle, but I hate glitter. So this is just water and a spackle spatula, you know, a metal scraper, and then I got all this glitter off so easily. You can use like a adhesive remover, but I didn't want it to leave stains on the wood because I didn't want to paint this. I wanted to leave, I'm sorry, I did want to paint it, but I didn't want it to leave like a darker spot from those things. Sanded off most of the welcome, and we're going to use these 2 colors of DIY paint. Again, my DIY products are from Lori at Milton's Daughter. You can take a peek in the description. I have all the goodies I use in this video are linked there. Now, I'm going to use the Hey Sailor, which is this beautiful navy blue. You saw me use that around the edge, the frame of the last one. I'm going to use this on the main part of the, I want to say it's a rolling pin, but it's not a rolling pin, of the sign here. So the entire front back sides got a good coat of Hey Sailor. I only had to do 1 coat. This stuff, I mean, also this isn't real wood. This is like some sort of, you know, Dollar Tree made in China adaptation of probably lots and lots of glue and cardboard and who knows, toilet paper and sticks. I don't know, whatever it is. It's compressed something, could be particle board, could be who knows what it is. It's something resembling some sort of wood-ish. So, and it absorbed the paint super easy. And then for the handles, I'm painting the handles that red color, which is, I believe it was red cardinal or red something. I'm sorry, I was jibber-jabbering through that. Now, we're going to do the same thing we did for our first project. And I'm going to do that weird, distressy, smeary, messy technique. But I'm going to use this plastic. This is, I think, a clay knife or something. I got them in a pack at Dollar Tree a while back. But you can get these metal, you know, I see a lot of people doing different types of art with these types of things. It's just like a paint spatula or a scraper or a clay tool. And I'm going to load up the back of it. This is the back of the actual thing of the scraper. And I'm just going to put it flat and then run it right straight across. And I love that. Look at that. Perfect. It's almost like the reverse distress that you go for when you put all the work in of doing all these double layers of painting and then end up sanding it off. And then you get a ton of powder everywhere and it's very messy. This was like the easiest way to do this. So you might see me doing this technique for going forward. Then I don't have to do sanding. And with the DIY paints, they are water-based, right? Like I mentioned before. So you can actually wet distress them with a rag or a baby wipe and it will take them back off. But whatever's underneath has to be sealed if it's also a DIY paint, because then it would take that layer off too. Half the time I paint things, let me know what you do. I'm painting it to cover up a color I don't like, so I don't want that color to come through. This actually technique was, I just love doing it. This made me so happy, you have no idea. I'll be doing this a lot. Now for this guy, we're going to use this little stencil I got here from, I want to say America. I'm watching it. Oh, hello. Hello. Go see, please. I am using a stencil from Essential Stencil, and I'm just going to use, I'm going to use the stars, but I don't want to use them just yet, so I'm covering up the stars with more masking tape. The left piece is to hold it down onto our project, and then all these other pieces is to cover up our stars so we don't get them on there. I'm going to use my favorite white color. It's like an off-whitish color. It's called Beadboard from DIY Paint. And I'm going to load up my brush and then basically almost dry it out to, as you can see here, there's hardly anything on it. That is how I start out stenciling, and then I don't get any bleed through. After about the first coat, when I do a very thin coat like this, where I load up the brush and then basically take almost all the paint off of the brush, you get this good first coat here. You see that turned out perfectly and very crisp. Then when I go back over, then I will start to add more and more paint to the stencil brush itself. You'll see as I start out, each time I do a new spot or a new letter or a new, shape in whatever stencil I'm using, it is very, very little paint on there that I'm dusting it over. And then you'll just see, I will then start to load it up as I go back across. Sometimes it takes 2 passes, 3 passes, but just remember, it's sometimes easier to do less first, less is more at first, because then you don't have to back out of it and you don't have to take it off, sand it down. I've done that many times, but I've gotten such good results with this particular technique. So a dry brush is better at first. Now I've taped off the stencil and we're just going to use these 2 stars. And I'm just going to repeat it all across the project itself. Sorry guys, the dogs are barking. This is just how it is. I have babies and they're loud. Now, again, I'm taking the brush. I'm offloading most of it off to the side over there on my little, my project piece here. And now I'm going to take this star. Is this the larger star? Let me see. Yep, there we go. There's my larger star. So I'm going to do the larger star first, and I'm kind of just tapping it all over the place. Now, because I'm using such a small amount of paint, it will dry. DIY paints dry very quickly, and they end up lightening up. It looks very, very, very pretty, almost a very matte finish, and you'll know once things are dry. So if you're worried about it, you could always just blow on it or use a hair dryer or something like that, heat gun. And then I'm going over now, I'm using the smaller star, and I did place a bunch of stars on here. At some point, I don't know if I went overboard. I still like the way it turns out. I love the end product. There's one piece I'll tell you that I don't like, but I covered it up with a bow and you can't really see it towards the end. So I'll let you know once we get there. But I did add just a truckload of stars all over this in some areas. So I stopped here. I took a little fine point, or a finer paintbrush here, and I'm using the lid of that DIY paint just to fill in the stencil markers there. I usually, depending on the letter and the font, I won't do this. Sometimes I will. I just chose to do it this time because I wanted a more solid piece. I thought it looked more neat, more put together after I did that. And now I'm taking this little stylus tool. I got a bunch of these in a pack, different sizes, and I'm going to put little dots all over. I used to call this the nail dotting tool because the only time I ever saw one was when my nail lady was putting those little dot daisies on my fingernails back in the 90s, because that's what was popular and that's what everybody thought was cool. I had those dot daisies on my fingernails all the time. And now I'm starting to put these on here and get a little bit more confident with my ability to put dots on things, apparently. And you get your confidence level up, and I'm like, yeah, I'm just going to put dots on here. I'll tell you right here. And I'm like, here's some more dots. And I'm using the smaller side of the stylus to put some smaller dots. And then up here, I don't know what I did. I just kind of got a little too sloppy. I'm like, that's ridiculous, Whitney. What are you doing? So we're just going to ignore that because I'll show you in a second how I cover it up. Now, same two techniques again. We're going to do clear wax and dark wax just to make sure that we have sealed in all of our DIY paint, because this whole thing is all DIY paint. So clear wax first, and you can see it is darkening it up. But that is because it is the wax. That's what it does. It will dry up and cure and be the lighter color that you wanted it to be. Now look what happens with the red paint. It does turn my brush a little red, so I'm just going to make sure I get all of that off, and do not put that back in your wax pot, because then you will get that red will contaminate. Yeah, it's not good. So even I like to use the lid as my little runoff thing. If I tap it in the lid, then I can wipe the lid out a lot easier than trying to dig out wax and waste it from the actual pot itself. Now I'm doing the same thing I did with the previous project, and I go in after the clear wax with my dark wax. That way I can control a lot of that. So if I needed to, I can just use a paper towel and kind of back some of that off. We're going to go back to our same little bucket, or our little bucket. We're going to go back to our same little bag of those white stars. White. They're not white stars. I'm turning it white. We're going back to the same bag of stars from Christmas. It's a Christmas little bag that you get at Dollar Tree. I'm going to paint the star white, and I'm going to use these cute little furniture tacks. Now I used these in the last couple DIYs. I just got them from Amazon recently, and I'm loving every second of it. These are just like an antiqued bronze one, and I'm going to use this as a nail. Basically, I'm just going to pound it right down in the center after I put some glue. So I needed to, because I put the wax on here first. So I just kind of sanded off the wax in a spot until I was happy. So you can see blue paint now, so I'm pretty sure the wax is off of it. I put my hot glue on top of that. Just another layer of adhesion security, you could say. I'm not sure. I just needed to get rid of the wax that was underneath it, so it had a good contact with the wood and the star. And then we're also going to use the extremely sharp furniture tack to basically tack it or nail it down into the it's not a rolling pin, into the little sign. It's just one of those things. It turns out so cute. Now don't worry, it's a crisp white. We're going to use just the residual that's in our brush here. So that's my dark wax brush, and I'm just going to rub that around the outside to darken it up, to make it match the rest of our little antiqued distressed project there. And see, look how cute. And also I covered up most of those dots that I hated, on top of the fact that we're now going to take one of these little eyelets. And again, you can get these in a pack of anywhere, hardware store, or at Dollar Tree. I mean, not Dollar Tree, at the hardware stores or on Amazon. This is one that I've taken off of another project and I had sitting off to the side. So remember, save the things that you take off of your projects. And this one I'm just taking and using, my upper body strength, sun's out, guns out, and just pushing it into the side and twisting it down. So now what I'm going to do is I created a bow off camera again. That was a failed project. It was a little bit too big for what I wanted to make it for. So I have a bunch of bundled jute and suede. I'm going to take this piece of jute and I'm going to feed that bow that I made through the middle of it. And now I'm going to use that jute, pushing it through that little eyelet to basically secure that and hold that down to the top of our piece. Now I can put a little glue on the actual piece, but because it's waxed, it probably won't hold for very long. So I'm going to put a little bit of glue down the middle of where I have the bow already bundled with jute, so that I'm kind of gluing this extra piece of jute to the center. And then after this, I'm just going to tie a knot in the back, feed those two pieces to the front, tie a knot in the front, and then actually I think I tied a double knot in the front, and then cut those two little end pieces so that they look like tails. And that's all she wrote. I did put a little bit of glue there. It's probably not going to hold very much because of the wax. And then I also put a little bit of dark wax right into the center of my bow to kind of darken up the white jute there. And then now with those little rusty stars again, because I got them the last minute, I decided to add one in and just kind of tuck it into the middle piece there and just kind of shoved in a little bit of glue. And I love how it looks. This cute little tabletop piece is just very, very, very patriotic, very Americana. This one, yeah, definitely screams 4th of July. But you tell me your thoughts and tell me what you think. I think she turned out great. I'm so happy. And I also love this paint technique. You're going to, yeah, I've created a monster. You're going to see me do this all the time now. It's very, very, it's just so easy and time saving if you want that distress look. Tell me your thoughts. All right, now we had a subscriber who reminded me about, what about pumpkins? You said you were going to do pumpkins. Bunny pumpkins, Christmas pumpkins. All right, well, thank you for the reminder. Many hugs. So here's what I did. I've been crocheting, guys. So these are my crocheted pumpkins for this year. I decided to make a couple cream ones for this video because we're going to do patriotic punkies. So I got a new pattern, and again, this is for later, but this is a sneak peek. You're going to see me. I'm going to bring out my pumpkins later, probably in August in that video, and I'm going to show you what I did, and then they're all going to be listed for sale. But for now, I'm going to use 2 of these pumpkins. But this, look at this, the construction of this. They're just so cute. I can't help it, and they're so squishy, and I love them. So we're going to do 2 patriotic punkies for this video. Now I'm going to grab my stems. These are like little buckets, my bucket o' stems with bags from Amazon. These are from Dollar Tree. Just find the stems that make your heart happy. So I did that. And now for the first one, I'm going to take this farmhouse ribbon. This is from Amazon. I got, it's not ticking stripe. What do you call that? It's just a farmhouse ribbon. And then this is a patriotic ribbon. I got this at Joann's so many years ago that it's ancient. It's ancient. It's actually a classic now because all the Joann stores are closed, right? So this is a classic. I've got a one-of-a-kind piece. You can't get this no more. Now I'm going to take this binding wire that I just got recently, and I'm going to use this as my center pull. So no jute, but this binding wire is a decent gauge, and it's covered in like a papery a paper cover. So it's like a paper covered wire, and I really love the way it looks. And it comes in a couple different colors. I decided to go with the lighter brown. So I'm twisting this around, you would like a twist tie. And then with the longer pieces here, after I cut that off the back, I'm going to twist that around the middle. So that gives me the appearance of what my jute would normally do for me. And then with the wire, the addition of the wire itself, it basically turned it into its own pick. And I can use that to stuff that down into either styrofoam. In this instance, it's going to go into the stuffing and the batting underneath through the yarn, the crocheted pumpkin here. Now I've got some others paper wrapped wire. This is a thicker gauge. I specifically bought this for my crochet pumpkins that I'm going to be doing, and I'm going to take a glue stick here, and I'm going to feed this around. This is a very good, it's a decent gauge, but it's a softer wire. It's not crazy hard on your hands. It doesn't hurt. I just wrap it around a glue stick and get that little weird crazy look, and we're good to go. So now I'm going to start assembly. First, I'm going to glue in this stem. That's good to go. Then I'm going to take the little tendril here that I made. Sorry, I forgot to mention. Every pumpkin I make has to have a tendril. If there's not a tendril, then I'm not feeling well. So after that, what I do is I cut the little tendril in half that we made, and then I'm going to glue each one of those in on the sides there. This is Excelsior grass that I got off of Amazon. I got basically a small little bag of it just to see if I like it. And it's basically almost wood shavings. It's not horrible. It's just an alternative to Spanish moss. I wanted to use something different. I liked it. It also gives it a very country, vintagey look that I'm kind of going for in this whole quote unquote Americana theme. Now I'm going to add my bow in, and I'm going for a lot of muted tones here. You see there's nothing bright white, no crisp whites or blues. This is all like navy blues, dark reds, cream colors, and the brown. So that's particularly what I'm going for this one. So I put a tiny little piece of Excelsior grass right there at the front. Push that in there, and then I'm going to tuck in one of them rusty stars, because I bought them specifically for this particular video, so everything has to have a rusty star on it. Every single thing. Now the other pumpkin doesn't, because it's the brighter colors, but this one I wanted to do the more muted tones with the darker navy blue. And now I have this little sprig here of berries. Now I'm telling on myself, say that says 2018. That's when I bought those, and I have probably 3 or 4 more in there. That's a long time ago. Now these I don't think have wire in them. I think it's more of like a plasticky center to it, because I mean it would hold the curl that I was putting on there, but it wouldn't stay 100%. So I don't believe there's wire in these, but it did keep the actual little, coil that I was putting on it. And this is a smaller glue stick I'm using, one of those little mini glue sticks, just so you know, for size reference. And I'm going to add these in as an accent. Now these I don't mind if they kind of straighten out some, because these aren't tendrils, these are just decoration. Because, this is such a realistic pumpkin that this does happen and occur in real life. So it does really matter that these red, white, and blue pipberry stems stay curled. But it doesn't matter, because I actually have the other larger paper wrapped wire there that you can see that's a real tendril. So that's how you know it's a real pumpkin. I took a couple berries there that had fallen off, and I tucked them between the bow and the stem, and that's all she wrote. Now for the second one, I went with the brighter colors, the bright white, red, and cobalt blue, doing the same thing as far as making a bow. So I'm just kind of gathering a couple pieces of ribbon. I'm just pinching them in the middle. This is just my technique for making easier bows. I kind of hold them in the middle and guess on how big I want the loops to be. Then I'm putting a diagonal cut on each end of the ribbon. And this is a grow green ribbon here. This blue ribbon is from Dollar Tree, and that red gingham ribbon is from Paper Mart, if you need to know. Both of these I bought so long ago that I could not tell you honestly if they are still available or not. Just try to use this as inspiration more than just as a project supply list. Like, you can buy these things right now, because half the time I'm crafting from my stash, like most of us. You've got a lot of stuff. Try to use what you have. I've been doing that more and more just because I literally have way too much stuff. So using the same wire as we used before, I'm doing the same technique where I'm just kind of bundling it up in the middle and using it kind of like a twist tie. And then once I get enough of the wire wrapped around the middle to make me happy, I'm going to twist it on the back and turn it into its own pick. So this is almost like, when you're putting a twist tie back on a loaf of bread. I can literally relate everything to food, just so you know. Now for assembly, I'm going to take our stem. I'm going to put that in. Now I got a couple pieces of little strips of denim I've used. I cut up a bunch of jean pieces for a couple videos back. And then I'm going to add the denim in, because I think denim screams American for some reason. It just makes me happy. And then I'm going to add the tendrils. I did take some more of that binding wire and make little lighter colored tendrils out of it. If you could see right there onto the side, we're going to add the lighter colored tendrils in too. So I only did one. This is a smaller pumpkin. It's got less actual stitches in the chain when I was crocheting it, but it doesn't show as far as on camera. You'll see it's just only slightly smaller than the other one. And then from there, I've got some extra flowers that I pulled off of extra pieces of stems and bushes and things that I have. So one red flower, one blue flower. I'm adding in the other lighter colored tendrils. And then I use some of this, I believe this is eucalyptus from Amazon. I'm cutting it into pieces so I have smaller pieces that are so shorter and taller. I just kind of added a bunch of gobbledygook to the top of this one. It's just whatever makes you happy at the moment. And then that's our two little punkies. So here's our patriotic punkies, because, pumpkin supply to July. You tell me what you think. Do you like patriotic? Do you like the idea of doing a themed pumpkin for whatever month or holiday or theme we're in? For me, I love it, but I'm the weird one. And I know there are a lot of you out there that have told me you like pumpkins as much as I do. Pumpkins are year round for me. They are up in my house 24/7. Right now, my living room, my mantle is all white and green, and I have white pumpkins all over it. So it is what it is. If I have work people coming over, they're like kind of do a second take. I'm like, yeah, I like pumpkins. It's my house. I don't apologize for it because it's what I like. I might go to your house and you might have a Batman living room. I mean, whatever, that's up to you. So tell me what you think about these pumpkins. So now this last little DIY here, I was already on a pumpkin kick and I walked past this and I was like, I can turn this, into a different arrangement. Now this base here was made out of Dollar Tree signs that weigh so much that I could not ship that to somebody without spending a small fortune. So this is now my arrangement. Now I didn't glue most of these things in because I knew that this thing, you could literally injure somebody with it. It's very heavy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to redo this and we're going to do a little patriotic theme here. So this is what we got after we clean it all out. I'm still going to be able to use that styrofoam over. And I needed to take a lot of the greenery and recycle it. So I'm going to recycle our magnolia leaves and I'm going to recycle these pine branches. I don't think they scream Christmas so much. They're just different. But this is my steel picks machine. This is basically a metal steel picking stemming system. They are not cheap. If you don't have one, don't go out to get one. Mine was a Christmas present from years and years ago because I used to do a lot of floral arrangements. These things are amazing for floral arrangers. If you make a lot of arrangements in those things, it basically turns all of your little items that you cut off from branches and artificial bushes and branches and stems, if it's not strong enough for the wire that's left in it, it turns everything into a convenient little prison shiv. So now, of course, you can cut your fingers very easy too, so please be careful. But on top of that, you can also threaten people and hurt them while you're in your craft room. It's great. Kidding. Not that I've ever done that, but if I had to, I would. So, no worries for me. I'm not going to be hurting you. Now, for this one, I wanted to add another little brighter, springier, summery bush to it. So this one doesn't need the pick machine because the wire in here is pretty thick. So if you see here, I've got all my bundles ready. You see the top and the right have their steel picks on the end. Now for this one, I'm going to put one small piece in each corner, and then the rest of this, I'm just going to let you watch because it's just me creating a floral arrangement. I take the pieces that I like and I pop them in. And I think the fun part of this is I'm not using hot glue. A lot of times when you use a hot glue, because I've done this for many ages, for years. I love making floral arrangements, but a lot of times the hot glue, if you want things to be permanent, is where sometimes you can't back these things out. So as you see here, I'm going to continue with these red flowers, blue flowers, and then I got a few extra pieces of this eucalyptus from Michael's that I had off to the side, so I cut about 3 of them in there. And I can tell you that the happy moment happens when I add these in right here. When I add the eucalyptus in, this is where I shine. I cannot explain to you how much happiness and joy I get when I make floral arrangements. I do not know why. It's just one of those things that just makes me so happy. I can't help it. And when that eucalyptus went in, that's where my little crafty heart was just like, yep, this is it. You're doing it. Now, I took some extra pieces off of one of the stems. One of the branches I pulled out was really thick, so I made each little stem on there its own pick, and that's just to fill in more of the greenery. Now, you can stop here and not do the pumpkins, because I'm going to add the pumpkins in. So another option would be to add some white to it for our little Americana Patriotic. Here's some baby's breath, or any type of white flower, smaller white flower. You could even put pip berries in there. There's a pip berry garland you could rip apart. But I'm going to recycle my pumpkins because, again, this is going to stay home with me here in my house, so it makes sense for me. If you're a pumpkin person or you're a punky person, I got these at Walmart many years ago, but you can get white pumpkins any year. And if you're a pumpkin person, I know you have them in your stash. But like I said, so the alternative would be to use some sort of white flower or pip berries or a berry type thing. I'm using these pumpkins, and I think this screams American pumpkin lover. So I'm naming it, this is my American pumpkin lover arrangement. And this thing's on my dining room table right now, and I love it, and she makes me happy. I have named her Barbara, and we have many conversations with no, I'm just kidding. But anyways, tell me what you think about Barbara. I just literally just named her Barbara. What do you think? I love it. Tell me, even if you're not a pumpkin person, do you love this? If you can, look at it objectively from someone else's style and taste. I love the colors. I love the fact that all these different greeneries would never exist together, but I like the way they look together, and I'm happy with how it looks. Tell me your thoughts. So cute. Now, that's it for this video. I had the 4 projects. Oh, it's five. Yeah, it is five projects because I forgot that last one was this little extra. But if you like my video, you felt like you learned something, or you want to help in any kind of way other than liking and subscribing, because that helps too. There's my coffee page where my DIYs are for sale. You can even throw a donation my way there too, as well as take a peek at the shop where my DIYs will be for sale. Other than that, again, it's always appreciated, never required. And I love you guys more than I can possibly say in words. You are my fuel. Thank you for sticking with me and being here. Many hugs, happy crafting, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye for now.